In the beginning, there was...
The Bitchspot Report. Welcome to the Bitchspot Report, the conservative atheist podcast that's not afraid to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Every week, your hosts, Cephas and Mike, will take on the latest religious and political news and examine the world around us from a distinctly conservative and skeptical perspective. Join us now for this episode of the Bitchspot Report. It's lucky number 37 of the Bitchspot Report podcast. Is that a lucky number? No, probably not, since luck isn't a rational concept and lucky numbers are just superstition, and we're all about being logical here, so forget any of what I said. Anyhow, welcome aboard. For the next 90-ish minutes, your hosts Cephas and Mike will go over the news of the day from a conservative atheist perspective. Strap in, eject your preconceived notions, and let's get into the Bitchspot Report. Well, it's another show, isn't it?
Definitely. Oh, what a week. It doesn't even half over.
Oh, it's always like that. Yeah, I know. Things are getting crazy around here.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just general weirdness. Maybe I am being irrational. Maybe it's just I'm just noticing the general weirdness.
Yeah, I don't know. It hasn't been that weird. It's just been super busy, and I've got so much to do. And I don't know where the time goes. It's like, well, I was going to get this, and this done today, and I got through the first thing, and what time is it? Crap. Then I'll do all that tomorrow. Yeah, it's just kind of a mess.
Yeah. They're rolling out Windows 7 on all our computers, and apparently there's some issues. So now, yesterday I had everything I needed except I forget whatever it was, but I show up today. The automatic system uninstalls AutoCAD for me as I'm trying to use it. And then I was having other issues, because they had me on an older version of AutoCAD. They wanted to get me up to a newer version. So they figured, well, let's just push him up higher on the, Win 7 list. So I got a new Win 7 computer. So now I got AutoCAD, but everything else I need, I don't have.
Yeah, you just can't win.
Yes, and fortunately, I'm an old timer, so I'm still used to using pencil and pen.
Yeah, for most people, it's like, what's a pencil?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of funny, way back during the summer when I was helping clean out my mom's house. We came across a couple of typewriters that I had way back in the day, and my kids are going, "What are those?"
Yeah.
It's like, no, those are the things that we used to use before we had computers. Where you had paper and you just had to push the buttons.
Right.
It's really weird. A lot of kids today are not going to understand any of the things that we used to do. I mean, they're not going to know what videotapes are. They're not going to know what computer disks are. I've still got a bunch of old 8-inch floppies and floppy drives and stuff. And nobody knows what the hell they are.
You know what? There was a common, well, you might have heard the term elbows and assholes.
Yeah.
And everyone's working. And that kind of came out of the drafting era, back when everything was hand-drawn, vellum, with, pencil and all that kind of stuff. And when you had this huge room of drafters and designers, everyone's leaning over the table, and that's all you see is their asshole and elbows.
Yeah.
And this one guy made the comment, one of the engineers, they were busting out this project, and he goes, "Man, all I see is elbows and assholes." And he took it the wrong way. he thought it was and then he had to explain. That was a compliment back in the day.
Yeah, but not so much anymore, I guess.
It's us old timers still use that. Of course, we try not to use the harsher language on the job, but it's definitely a lot of stuff is. I mean, I remember 8 tracks. I think I even may have a couple in the garage still. I'm trying to think what other fun. Actually, there's a picture on my Facebook where I threw out all the electronics from the 80s. I mean, we had this big pile, me and my brother. There was a electronics recycling opened up in town. So we put all this stuff out in the driveway, and it was like, I had this old scanner. I had this old, Pioneer made a 6-changer CD drive. I'm trying to think some of the other stuff, but it was like, this is stuff I bought late 80s, early 90s. Now I'm going through the late 90s, early 2000s stuff to see what I should throw out now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I used to keep all that stuff. Way back in the day, I had one of the earliest digitizers where it was a camera suspended over a board, and you had like this color wheel that you had to spin in front of it manually. To scan any color image, you had to scan it 3 times.
Okay.
And then you had to change the color in front of it so it had different color, you actually pick up RBG. Okay. And people today don't understand that crap.
Yeah.
Like, this is how we used to have to do it.
I mean, I've got the Summa Graphics digitizer, stuff. It was for drafting, and where you could take a drawing, you could set it down. There's a little crosshair, and you can AutoCAD. I don't know if they still have that function in there, but you can you just click a button and you hit your points, and you can reconstruct a paper drawing. And it still works, and I can still find drivers to work in XP. I haven't tried it in 7 or 8, but it's huge. It has the old inlays and stuff like that. I mean, that was the good old days. I mean, that was state of the art.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's, laser scanners. We can convert the PDF into a AutoCAD drawing, and then I can manipulate it in AutoCAD and, all sorts of neat stuff. The various scanning, there's OCRs and stuff like that we have now. But back in the day, everything had to be done manually.
Oh yeah, I know. It's just, and I used to keep all that stuff until I realized one day I can't even use it. It's useless for any purpose. So I just went and I just dumped a whole ton of it. And now I pretty much clear things out. I know I've got a drawer full of, like motherboards that I should just get rid of because they're old motherboards that don't do anything. And I've got piles and piles and piles of memory that isn't even used anymore. I don't know why I keep it sitting around.
You kind of hate throwing it away because you paid so much to get it. I mean, it's probably paid quite a bit to get them back when you bought them. Because that's what I do. I mean, I like to hold on to it as long as I can because I can, because I used to like Linux because I could slap together a computer real quick, throw Linux because I know it'll run on it. And, I've kind of recycled some old computers, but now with these new motherboards, and I'm sure the stuff I have now, I might not be able to get memory for it anymore, so it would almost have to go into recycling.
Well, it really doesn't matter because the memory is so damn cheap, it doesn't make a difference. You're going, okay, I need 4 gigs on this system. Well, probably the motherboard doesn't even support that. But if it does, you can go out and get memory and a motherboard. The memory is a couple bucks. Who cares? Throw it away. Yeah. Go buy something new. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we're going to turn this into another tech talk show.
Yes.
So, anyway, this came up this morning, and it's not something that pissed me off. So this is something I'm going to call things that make us facepalm. Now normally I'm not in the car at any time when Rush Limbaugh is on. I mean, the guy's a dick and I don't really listen to him. I don't care about anything he says. But today I got in the car just as he had a commercial for this thing called the Biblical Money Code on. Now apparently it's a new advertiser he just got this week, and it's a guy who is a former pastor who's saying he can make you rich by lessons that he learns out of the Bible. And it's really just such a ridiculous idea. I mean, I thought nobody is possibly going to fall for this until I remembered that the people he's targeting are the same people that have already fallen hook, line, and sinker for this Jesus scam. So why the hell not? Why has nobody actually done this before? Because it actually sounds like a good idea to make a lot of money.
I think they do. I mean, there's the magic water from Peter Popoff. It's all preying on the gullibility. And I mean, I see these ads for, on, Al Jones. He does these, at Midas, they sell gold. So he's using fear, the fear of like a crash in the economy to get these people to go and invest in gold, which is usually the standby argument. Gold will never lose value, blah, blah, blah. The company that he advertised and he recommends you go to is owned by the guy that owns the network that Alex Jones is on. It's all a part of this, again, I'm going to call it a scam where Jones will fill your head full of bullshit that the world's coming to an end, the economy's going to crash. Go to Ted Anderson and buy, gold from him. That's how the network makes its money. You know, and it's just this Rush Limbaugh. He preaches that with the Democrats, Obama and Obamacare, you know, all the stuff he goes about, there's going to be a crash and people are afraid to lose their money. So in comes this ad for, hey, you can get rich by using a Bible code.
Well, it was funny when I'm listening to it. I was just going, why does this remind me of that old email make money fast scam? Because it's essentially the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I went and I actually looked into this a little, very little, because I really don't care. But the first step that they teach you is that you have to learn to unlove money. Well, if you don't love money, why the fuck are you using this program to make a lot of money?
Yeah.
And the guy who's doing this, Sean Hyman, why the hell is he trying to make a lot of money by selling investment advice if he wants everybody to stop loving money? Nobody thinks about this stuff. It's just stupid.
Again, it's the pitch. We're not in it to make money, but, you know, you're going to make money. You know,
of course he's in it to make money. You know, he's going, I'm giving my program away. And then he's selling his monthly investment advice for $50. Of course he's making money. Screw you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So, yeah, it's dumb. For anybody who wants to hear the radio commercial, I put it in the show notes for this episode just because it's so laughable. But they're fleecing the sheep, and I guess there's no surprise why they're going to fall for it, because they've already fallen for the same stupid crap already.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed there always seems to be this connection. It's like this common theme about religion and money. And it's some deal. You know, it's like financial advice, Christian financial advice. I've seen stuff like that where, you know, if you're a good Christian, I imagine that there are funds that are set up that promote Christian ideals, you know, whatever. And they want to direct you to those. So you advertise on the 700 Club. One of the advertisers will be one of these funds that are trying to say, hey, you know, we've got this portfolio that to maintain your Christian beliefs, you know, so you're not supporting abortion clinics and stuff like that. You're all specially selected. I mean, really, it does come down to, I think it's a scam where I don't think these funds ever made a lot of money, but it's just a way to, it always seems to spring in that, you know, you pray to God for this, he'll give, you know, you pray and you shall receive type of thing. And so if you pray for this money, you'll get it, you know, type of thing. And people buy into it because, one, they're brainless and they're going to follow that guy on the TV, you know, the Robertsons and all that kind of stuff. And when they do luck out and, you know, they get that the big paycheck, you know, they've been waiting for the expense check. Oh, hey, that's God taking care of me. Not the fact that the company owed you that money. You know, there's that weird mentality of these religious types that, you know, they don't realize, hey, I don't know. It's just that they can't see that they're being scammed.
Yeah, well, it's not just the religious. I mean, you got Oprah and her secret, you know. It's like, if I just think about it enough, I'll get it. You know, it's like, fuck you. And then she has like guts to say anything bad about atheists. It's like, blow it out your ass, bitch.
Yeah.
I hate people like that.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get some news done. And now the news. Reverend Andre Sampson has a problem, or at least he had one, before he got terminated from his position at St. Joseph's Oratory in Montreal, Canada. See, Simpson was trying to talk to his colleagues about sexual abuse in light of the Vatican's supposed new policy of openness and honesty, and found out that this just isn't the case throughout the Catholic Church. His discussions led to him being ostracized and eventually fired because some clergy just don't want to talk about the reality within their church. And we talk about this all the time, but now they're firing people because they're daring to say, hey, shouldn't we stop sex abuse?
Yeah, I know we've talked about this before. It's just castle denial. I mean, it's not happening here, so we don't have to mess with it, even though it is happening there, you know. And a guy who wants to speak up and say, hey, we gotta think about this. The Vatican is coming down. The Pope is saying this. Why aren't we doing anything about it? But you don't destroy a guy's career over it, you know.
Oh, it didn't hurt his career any. I mean, the guy makes like $190,000 a year as a college professor. He was doing this on the side. Didn't hurt him a damn bit.
Oh, okay.
But the thing is, 2 years ago, this archdiocese paid out an $18 million settlement for sex abuse. And this guy was coming in trying to tell them that he received a complaint in a confessional that somebody else had been sexually abused. And nobody wanted to talk about it. Guys, he's trying to save you money. He went in and tried to talk about it, and they threw him out of the cafeteria and said, you can't say that here. You might hurt our frickin' feelings. Come on!
Yeah.
This is Pope Francis who tells the church to act decisively to protect children, and then, he's out excommunicating priests who dare to talk about it. These people are throwing people out of the church. What the fuck is wrong with this damn church? This whole thing is like the Vatican's version of don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah. That's why I'm flabbergasted, I guess. I mean, it's just this whole, I don't know. Part of me wants to say, well, maybe if you don't admit to it, then it'll go away or something, or this denial, if it's just, they gotta be quiet, if they're trying to avoid the next lawsuit, going the wrong way, apparently they don't learn from their mistakes. I mean, if they paid out $18 million for this, now they're gearing up for another $18 million, and they won't do anything about it, and then they're going to have to happily pay out $18 million when it does get into the court systems and all that kind of stuff. I mean, maybe this is a good thing that they're going to bankrupt themselves. They're going to be totally, what did we do wrong? Or they just don't believe they did anything wrong. I don't know.
I mean, they're not learning their lesson. The church, if you look at the entire church, Catholic Church worldwide, they're out, it's $14-15 billion over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
But they don't care because there's lots of Catholics in the pews willing to keep giving them money. It doesn't matter to them. It's not their money. These people aren't going to jail, although they're starting to. They're finding an awful lot of people now where they're going not only after the pedophile priests, but they're going after the archbishops and anybody who knew about it and didn't act on it. So, I mean, I think they're either going to all end up behind bars or they're going to have to learn something. We just keep finding these stories, and I don't get it.
Yeah, because I'm trying to remember. Well, for my other show, I've been doing this research, and I was going through the RICO standard or statutes. And I think was it Boston that they actually was it Boston or there was some city where they applied RICO to the priest, to the church as a racket. And, they were tried under a RICO statute, but I think there was a problem with it maybe. I'm trying to remember exactly, but it had to do with, because the higher ups knew and condoned the lower priests' activities, and they prosecuted them prosecute them like the mob, bring them all in, arrest them all.
Yeah, I wish we could do that with the Pope, but you can't because he's beyond the reach of anybody's justice.
If we can declare the Vatican a terrorist state, then maybe we could send the Navy SEALs in to grab them. But until that happens, he's pretty safe there in his little love nest.
Yeah, with his gay sex club or whatever it is, whatever's going on at the Vatican these days. We just
it's probably a whole naked boy, girl, everyone fuck fest.
Yeah, well.
And then when the lights go on goes the robes. It would be pretty easy. You could quickly throw those robes on, I would think,
Yeah. Well, that's why the robes are so long, to hide the kids underneath.
Yeah.
See, that's the one thing I just don't get is we just keep seeing these stories over and over and over and nobody learns. And
it's the same, it's the same story, the same MO. It's the same crap. If someone is caught or suspected, the higher ups will not do anything about it, and then eventually it ends up in a court. Lawyers get involved. It'd be nice if it get into a courtroom, but more than likely the church is going to sit down at a table in a back room somewhere, and their lawyers are going to say, "Yeah, pay this, this, and this," and sign a bunch of papers, and the problem goes away until the next time around. And they don't learn from that. $18 million doesn't seem to faze these people. Maybe $20 million or 50 million, pay out on one of these.
Well,
get them to wake up.
It won't matter because they've got people willing to pay them no matter what they do.
Right.
The Catholic parishioners in the pews are not going to say, screw you people in your criminal pedophile church, we're leaving. It just doesn't happen. Right. Should, but it doesn't. That kind of thing just pisses me off.
Yeah. I mean, that's the worst part about it. It is the rank and file parishioners. They're the ones losing. I mean, they're really basically paying the church to pay off the victims of the priests that do this abuse. I think it's ridiculous. I mean, it makes no sense to me, but, they, again, every day, they're in their envelope. Boom. They're $20, $50. I don't know what kind of donations they do nowadays. I mean, I'm sure there's probably even a couple of $1,000 donations or whatever, but status quo, I guess, and it's not going to end. They don't seem to want it to end, which is sick. I don't like the idea of my tax dollars paying for something bogus, or something stupid. I mean, I'm thinking towns like Skokie, Illinois, where the atheists sued the town because they had I forget what, and both Skokie lost, and it ended up costing the taxpayers, they had to repaint all the police cars. They had to get rid of all this old stationery. I think they had to do stuff like taking stuff down from buildings and putting stuff up. And of course, then there was also the court costs and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't like the idea of having my taxpayer dollars. I mean, I don't live in Skokie, so my dollars didn't count up there, but when something like that happens in a community, whether it's a municipality, a city, a church, my money's going in there. I want my money to do what it was supposed to do, not go to pay someone who's been harassed or abused or anything like that. I mean, I want my money to do what the church is supposed to do, keep the doors open, whatever their real purpose is. I mean, but if it's just going right into a victim's pocket, in these cases, the money is probably not even close to fixing the person itself, but having that money going from my pocket to a victim, that shouldn't happen.
What is it, Toronto, where their mayor's crack cocaine guy, and San Diego, where their mayor was out sexually harassing people. Who's paying for all those lawsuits? It sure isn't the mayors. It's the city. It's the people. And they have a right to be pissed off.
Yeah.
Why aren't the Catholics pissed off? Why are the regular rank and file Catholics not saying, screw you, we're not giving you any more money. We've given you enough and look what you're doing with it. It boggles the mind.
Yeah, maybe they just feel that the priests are infallible. I don't know. And maybe even think these guys are just being railroaded. I don't know. Or their brains just can't lock on the fact that a priest can be a pedophile or a rapist or any type of criminal.
Except the evidence proves otherwise.
Yeah. If you got the DNA sample, everything that proves that this person was at this place committing a murder, you've got the DNA, but somehow, because you make one of the cops out to look like a racist or whatever, then you can, that makes that evidence go away. I don't understand how that kind of stuff happens. And then I'm talking about O.J. Simpson case. I mean, the DNA was there, but just because Furman was a racist, they were able to turn it around and make it sound like the cop was trying to frame O.J. And people could twist around in their heads whatever they want to believe. And even then, that there was that one juror that said he was innocent. She thought he was guilty, but she didn't want to have a Rodney King riot after the verdict. And it's like, why do people think this way?
Because people are stupid.
Definitely.
Yeah. Maybe the Catholic Church can go out and start selling some Bible money codes and make up some more money to pay for all these victims.
Yeah.
Because they sure don't want to talk about it and they sure don't want to solve it.
Well, definitely not. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you go from there,
Yeah. We'll talk about it again and again and again and again because they'll never change and they'll never learn.
Different town, different priest, different whistleblower.
Yep.
That's the way of the world, I guess.
I guess.
Sad.
It's what religion brings.
Yeah.
All right, well, why don't you go ahead and get to your first story?
Okay, this is a story from the Bainbridge Leader. No evidence radical comics on religion ever existed, says principal. The principal of Bainbridge High has strongly refuted allegations controversial reading material which had been branded sectarian was ever present in the school library. Apparently a cartoon strip called Chick Tracts were apparently found, with one supposedly containing a link to a Chick website where a catalog of 128 more publications, many with Catholicism as its theme or subject, can be assessed. The material was subsequently branded sectarian by a number of individuals who contacted the Irish News. However, Principal Bell told the leader there is no evidence the literature was ever present in the library, nor did any individual bring it to his attention. There's one cartoon about Mean Mama was described by the Irish News as telling the story of a mother who rejects religion and refuses to fear God. The Chick Tract goes on to depict the mother's 3 children dying, one committing suicide, above the caption, "The Lord gave and the Lord hath taken away." Oh, where do we go with this one?
Well, I mean, in the U.S., this would never go anywhere because it wouldn't make a damn bit of difference because religious crap is in huge numbers of public high school libraries.
Right.
At least in England, they're going, oh, hell no.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, Chick Tracts are really kind of stupid anyway.
Yeah. I thought this was in the States.
Nope, it's in England.
Since Protestantism is probably more popular than Catholicism, yeah, this thing probably freaks some people out, and that they're bringing another religion into their school. Of course, then the whole denial thing that it ever was there.
To be honest, I don't know if it ever was there. You know, it says they found them in the reference section. Okay. Well, were they placed there by the school, or did somebody just walk in with one and just leave it on a shelf?
Right.
We don't know. You know,
yeah.
And, you know, I think it's a lot of nonsense. It's a lot of excitement over pretty much nothing. I mean, Jack Chick Tracts are more for laughing at than taking seriously.
Right.
There's a lot of websites out there that just spend all their time ripping them apart, making fun of them, you know, changing all the words around so that they say things completely different and all that. And that's kind of fun to look at. These things have been around since I was a kid, probably long before that too.
Yeah.
And, you know, I used to read them when I was in school. Of course, I was going to religious schools, but, you know, I used to read these really horrible, you know, and I remember I was sitting in like 6th or 7th grade and I'm reading these Jack Chick Tracts about kids on drugs, dropping dead in the streets and, you know, all this stuff. It's like, right. Today that would never, ever, ever fly in any school. Parents would be horrified by this crap, you know, but it's really just kind of silly when you look at it.
Yeah, on a whim, and actually it was kind of out of necessity, because a friend of mine also does a atheist podcast, Chris Weber, and he was talking about finding one of those little booklets. I wonder if I still got that. Hang on. Okay, I don't have it. No, he was talking about finding one of these little booklets in a bathroom, and I was on my way back to Detroit. I just came from a dentist appointment. I really had to use the bathroom bad, so I went into the bathroom there at the gas station, and sure enough, there was one of those little religious tracts. It looks like it may have come from the Jehovah's Witnesses. I've seen them, kind of like those that they pass out. So I grabbed it, one, because I'm curious, and number two, then someone else won't get it. You know, he's like, why are you reading religious stuff you find in a bathroom? And, he's like, so that's why this story kind of popped up, that, you know, people they'll drop stuff off anywhere, you know, where they know there's going to be people. And I guess, bathroom, they're going to find people. And,
well, I guess they know that if you're in a bathroom, they got time to read.
Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe it's a form of preaching. I mean, these people pass these things around bathrooms and, you know, wherever, probably not too open, unless maybe in some of the southern states you might find them laying out more in the open than anything, but, up this way, I hardly ever see them, but then I hardly ever go into gasoline restrooms anymore. And while reading that thing, it was like this, you know, this guy he dies, he goes to the pearly gates, and he's being told he's going to be going to hell. He can't come in because they explained all the terrible things he did. He made money and, treated people bad and all that kind of stuff. And his only goals was, all the deadly sins type of things, the sloth, all the sins that were made up after the Bible. But then he's not going to go into heaven over those. Anything to, spread the word, spread the good word. And apparently they picked the wrong, school to do it in. And, but then the guy just up and denying it. I don't know. It's just hard to.
Well, for all we know, somebody could have just complained that they found something there. The principal went and looked, and there was nothing there to find. So there may not have actually been something there. It was just somebody starting some shit. We don't know.
Yeah.
But if something like that happened in the U.S., nobody would ever bat an eye and say, okay, there's religious tracts in the schools. And all the religious people would be going, yeah, good, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm not, I'd much rather have the British system where, holy crap, there's any kind of partisan religious garbage in the schools at all. It's a huge deal. I'd rather see no religion of any kind in any school ever, anywhere, than the kind of crap that we have where they're trying to teach creationism and talk about the Bible and all this other nonsense. That should never happen.
It shouldn't. Sounds like there's a few places they're trying to work their way around the system a little bit, but find out later.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on.
Obama is the reemergence of the Jones cult mentality on a grand national level. First off, Jones captured the media, and Obama captured the media. Jones had a strange childhood, a father, a drunk, a mother that had to fend for itself, and so Jimmy Jones, he was very lonely and not really looked after by a father figure. Jones ended up as a highly egocentric, narcissistic, charismatic man who would do and say anything that would get him ahead. No real and deep-seated principles, and that's obvious. And the same way, Obama attacked the lone media organization that began researching him critically, talk shows and their pundits going on Fox News. Obama captured and captivated the rest of the media. One of them was so in love with Obama that Chris Matthews, lost his cool and said he got a tingle up his leg. Mm-hmm. Obama also captured and captivated the politicians and even moderate Democrats, those that were ordinarily fairly sane and seemed to have fallen blindly before this blazing young political messiah. And Obama had also had a very strange childhood. Father deserted him, the child, when he was 2 years old. Obama's only father figure was a terribly nasty old man, a pornographer and a child molester and a cocaine user who was an avowed communist.
Frank Marshall Davis.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we could go into that, how weird he was, and it's pretty well established that Frank Marshall Davis was the one that got Obama into cocaine.
Self-proclaimed expert on Jonestown, David Kahn, has declared that Obama is the reemergence of the Jones cult mentality on a grand national level. He's drawn a bunch of parallels between Jim Jones and Barack Obama and is now claiming that Obama is leading us down the primrose path toward national suicide. Honestly, can these people get any crazier? I don't think so.
This is up there, yeah. This is up on the crazy shit-o-meter. It's starting to peg here.
Yeah.
Because, I keep hearing these stories about how Obama's, he seems to be everything. I mean, he's the Antichrist, and now here, apparently he's, the Jim Jones of the USA, and, I don't know if it can get any crazier.
Oh yeah, it can.
Yeah.
But you look at this, and this is the epitome of conspiracy theorist nonsense. These are people who are taking disparate facts and constructing an elaborate narrative that fits into their wingnut views.
Oh, exactly.
This is exactly the same Alex Jones nonsense that's going on. It says that Obama attacked people who said bad things about him on Fox News. But come on, doesn't every single neocon political pundit attack everything that's said on all of the so-called liberal mainstream media? They do the same thing, but they only blame Obama for doing it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's like what we see with, some of these religious types. Our way is right, your way is wrong. That type of attitude. So these guys are sitting here, they cry foul when they're called out for being wing nuts and whatever. I mean, like this guy clearly creating these links to say, okay, I mean, you could probably do it with just about every president that he's been a Jim Jones type. I mean, that's kind of like what they do. They use their charisma, they use their, everything to, get you to follow what he's selling, and he's trying to pitch ideas, So this guy, what's funny is that Obama has been accused of being an Antichrist, but here now he's being accused of being a preacher.
Yeah, well, of course, he's being a Muslim preacher. It's all about Islam,
Right. So they've done that to Clinton, I believe. Yeah, they did some of this kind of stuff. I mean, anyone that's left, this is coming from right-wing watch, so these are the crazies of the crazies, and, so they're going to go after anybody who wants to bring social programs in and stuff, that whole thing. And, Fox News, half their news is made up anyhow. And Obama, you go after that. It's clear that a lot of this stuff, the birther stuff, wasn't created by Fox News, but it was perpetuated by Fox News. And Obama calling out Fox News as being a rag news network, he was right. And apparently this guy is thinking, because he's picking on Fox News, he's picking on everybody. And just, reading from this, it doesn't even seem like he has any facts straight.
Well, no, but these people don't worry about facts. It's all about rhetoric. Come on.
Yeah, and preaching to their constituents, I guess, their followers.
Yeah, well, they're still playing the whole birther nonsense. I mean, give up, guys. You lost. Give it up. They're playing the Antichrist, the Muslim, now it's like, I guess we're all going to have to be really careful when Obama starts whipping up a big batch of Kool-Aid because he's out to kill us all. These kind of ideas, they're just stupid. And it's all more conspiracy theorist crap, which goes back to when we talked about the religious being essentially identical to the conspiracy theorists anyway. They all use the same kind of nonsensical garbage where they're just making crap up and they're grabbing facts here and there that fit into their narrative, and that's the end of it. That's all they care about. They don't care about the truth. But
it's about the story.
It's about the story. And I don't think Obama's any better than they are, because I think he's just as full of bullshit as anybody else. It's just kind of the way politics goes. But, some of these just get to be like completely way the hell out there in the middle of La La Land, and I don't know how they got there, and they certainly are never going to come back.
There's I just remember there's a real even crazier story that Obama he's a time traveler, apparently, and a space time traveler. And there was a secret program where humans were going to Mars, and and Obama was part of that program. So yeah, there is even a crazier story out there, but
well, come on, you've got the Weekly World News back when that was around, with the aliens shaking the hands of all the presidents.
Yeah.
I'm surprised these people aren't doing that one.
It's probably in the works. We probably just gave someone an idea.
No, it would be Obama shaking the hands with the devil or something. Too bad the Weekly World News isn't around anymore. There needs to be like a religious version of that, although there might be, I don't know. That'd actually be interesting.
There is WorldNet Daily.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they did that story. I stay as far away from that as I can stay. But then again, I stay away from the wingnut left side as much as I stay away from the wingnut right side. So
yeah.
I try not to worry about them.
Yeah, I have to dig into my other podcast because I get the best material out of these people. I mean, to be honest, WorldNet Daily, some of the stuff that comes out of there, they take kind of a legitimate story. I mean, something that even I'm concerned about. I mean, and I think that's kind of their cluck is we're conservatives, and when they are talking about spending goofy amounts of money, I'm attracted to that story. But then when I start reading it, it's like, well, wait a minute, this is all bullshit. It ends up turning into a bullshit story. And I go, okay, so why are they doing this? Well, because they don't like Obama and they want to make him look bad, so they're going to make up a story to say that it's his fault, Not the fact that it was some Republican and some bumfuck, I don't want to pick on all America, but, some backwoods hick, Republican, voting for something, he sponsors this bill that ends up screwing half the country, and they blame Obama for it. It's like, wait a minute, this is a fucking congressman who brought the bill to the floor to be voted on. And then everyone had to vote on it, and the Senate has to vote on it, then the president has a chance to veto it. Okay, where's the problem here? Well, they go into all sorts of stuff. It's all John Birch type, this anti-UN, they'll talk about, the religious being persecuted. So it's the conspiracy mentality that, here's Obama for something that he's probably done nothing really wrong. Maybe he wasn't as tactful as he should have been or something like that. That may be the only problem that they might have, or what might be real, but then it gets blown out of proportion. He's a Muslim. He's from Mars. He's from Nigeria, or Kenya. He's Kenyan.
Oh no, he's got to be Nigerian. He's responsible for all the Nigerian scams.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they haven't done that one yet.
The Kenyan branch of the Nigerian scam.
And to be honest, the left does the same damn thing when it's a Republican president. They do the same crap. And then they turn around and go, well, look, why are you doing this to us? Well, because you did it the other way. The whole political mess is it's been too fractured where it's all ideology now. It's not about what's best for the country. It's about what's best for your particular political bent. Right. And it's just a disaster from both sides. They're both equally responsible for it. So I don't want to hear any shit about it's all the Republicans' fault, because it's just as much the Democrats' fault.
Right. And I think we're going to save that for later.
We'll be back to that one a little bit later. All right, well, why don't you go ahead and do your last story, and then we'll get into that.
Amazing Grace Baptist Church in Canton, North Carolina, is planning a book burning on Halloween.
We're burning books that are satanic.
And you'd be surprised which books they consider fuel. Bibles, like the New Revised Version Bible, the American Standard Version, and the New King James Version. The banned books are listed on the church's website. The pastor considers them perversions of God's Word.
I believe the King James Version is God's preserved, inspired, inerrant, infallible Word of God.
His church doesn't believe in any other version.
We believe the King James Version for the English-speaking people is God's holy Word.
The church's website spells it out. A Halloween book burning, but also being tossed in the fire, music of almost every genre, and popular books, some by Christian authors.
A lot of different authors that we consider heretics, such as Billy Graham, Rick Warren, the list goes on and on.
Other authors slated for burning include James Dobson, Oral Roberts, T.D. Jakes, and even books by Mother Teresa. And the pastor does have community support.
In my opinion, the King James Version is the only version.
But other residents think burning Bibles is nonsense.
Some of the newer versions, I think, make it easier for people to understand.
The website mentions they'll also be serving food at the burning, fried and barbecue chicken. So far, the Amazing Grace Church has 14 members, but the pastor says it's growing, and he hopes Halloween's book burning lights a fire under true believers. The pastor hopes to make the book burning an annual event.
Yes, I love this. This is like the best story, the best one I've ever come across. North Carolina church plans Halloween Bible burning. Yes, Bible burning. A church in North Carolina is burning Bibles. Why? Because Mark Grizzard of the Amazing Grace Baptist Church in Canton, North Carolina says that the first King James translation of the Bible is the only true declaration of God's Word, and that all others are satanic. That is what I just said. All the other books other than the King James Bible is satanic. Wrap your head around that one, folks.
It's just stupid.
I was just amazed. And he points out, he has in here, there'll be burning books by a lot of different authors who we can consider heretics, like Billy Graham, Rick Warren, and the list goes on. Oh my God. I mean, burning books, it's not one of those things. I think it's probably one of the stupidest things humans have undertaken. I mean, Adolf Hitler and his ilk.
Oh, I could care less. I don't give a damn about burning books. If it's your property, knock yourself out. Go out and burn all the books you want as long as they're yours. Of course, these people who are burning these Bibles, all the people who made the Bibles made a lot of money by them going out buying these Bibles to burn. Okay, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
The idea behind book burning originally was to eradicate ideas, but you really can't do that in the modern world. I mean, there's so many copies of any book out there, both in print and electronically, that you cannot possibly eradicate any single book from existence. So if you want to burn Bibles, knock yourself out. Do whatever you want to do. I don't care. It doesn't bother me in the least. Burn your Bibles, burn your bras, burn your church down. I don't care. It's your shit. Do what you want to do.
That's true. I mean, that's a true statement, but just the thought that's going into this particular burning. I mean, I wouldn't talk anything about any other book burnings, but this one, that they're burning their own, because they believe other Bibles are satanic. And that's the part that got me.
Yeah, but you gotta remember, these people are fanatical about the King James Version, and it's clear they don't know a damn thing about it. The King James Version has more demonstrable errors, and it was written specifically to cater to King James's belief systems than any other Bible out there. It's the worst choice you could make. But there's a lot of people who think this thing is just hot shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this guy definitely, and he's declared out all the other books satanic. It's like, I don't understand the logic there. I mean, I could see maybe Qurans and, maybe the Book of Mormon, but any other Christian-based Bible should be okay. But no, even the one, I think, I don't know, which Bible is it that they actually change every year or every other year? The evangelists use a lot.
Oh.
There's a Bible, and they actually sit down, I think every 2 years to rewrite it. Because, whatever, to make it more, in tune. But it's like the Bible's what you make out of it and what you want. I mean, this is where you draw your belief system from. So here's a guy who's saying that pretty much every other Christian religion in the United States, in the world, along with everything outside the Christian world is all satanic. Only their little place there in North Carolina is the only non-satanic church in the entire world.
That's probably pretty accurate too. That's probably exactly what they think.
Yeah, and it's that and the megalomania of the pastor who's going. Everything else is terrible. Billy Graham. I mean, a guy that was he spiritual advisor to Reagan?
Yeah.
So I mean,
but these people don't like that. They think the U.S. is satanic. They think everything is satanic except for their own little corner of reality. These people are insane. They're fundamentalist fanatics. And this is not the first time they've even done this. They did the same thing in 2009. And it's funny that both events didn't even take place. This year it rained and they had protesters, and there's a state law that says they can't burn paper. So they went inside and they ripped up Bibles and threw them in a little trash can. There's a video of this and it's hysterical.
Oh, okay.
It's sad. It's completely sad. And they're all going, let's get some music going so we can all dance while we're while we're throwing Bibles away. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you people?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, yeah, because that's what I got from the story. It's like, I agree with you. It doesn't make sense. It can burn every book in every library in the country. So we got everything pretty much electronic. You're not getting rid of it. But, this is all symbolic, destroying these things. And they do this, happily, okay. I mean, isn't there better things to do when you bring community together, like feed hungry?
Probably they're handling steaks after that. It's like, we're handling snakes, we're drinking poisons, and we're burning Bibles. That's kind of their thing, probably.
Yeah. Tomorrow, snake handling, every Friday, drinking, yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is why I didn't give a crap about Florida pastor Terry Jones either. The guy who wanted to burn Qurans, and everybody's going, holy crap, you can't burn a Quran because you might piss off a Muslim. Well, first off, fuck the Muslims. Secondly, if it's his Qurans, he can burn anything he damn well pleases, and I don't care who it pisses off. Same thing with these losers. If they want to burn Bibles, knock themselves out. If they want to go out and buy 1 million Bibles and have a 5-story tall bonfire, go for it. I don't care. Makes no difference to me whatsoever. I'll go and take pictures and laugh at you people. It just surprises me that so many people get up in arms about this crap. It's just a fucking book. It doesn't mean anything. It's what's inside the book that matters, and you're not burning what's inside the book. You're not getting rid of the content of the book. The content is safe. You're just burning a physical copy of it. It's like stepping on a Quran. Who gives a shit if you step on a Quran or stick it in a toilet? It means nothing. It's what's in the Quran, and shit, you can get another Quran. It's not a big deal. But, these people they freak out for the stupidest things, and then they have these displays of their own stupidity. These people have clearly never read the damn King James Bible, and, I think it was funny because I remember a number of years ago when they did the New King James translation, where they went back to the oldest versions that we have, and they made new translations off of the oldest, copies of the manuscripts. They fixed all the shit that King James fucked up. Because King James fucked up a lot in the Bible. But I'm sure that's why they're burning it, because I don't know what the hell they like about King James, but, it's just this weird crap they all grew up with, I guess.
Or their megalomaniac pastor says this is what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, that's probably the only reason. Pastor so-and-so, Pastor, Grizzard.
Yeah.
Pastor Grizzard says we gotta burn these books, so we gotta burn the books.
Yeah, well, I'm sure everybody yeah, call out your sister wives and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
It is North Carolina after all.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure, I didn't look, but I'm sure this church is probably like 20 people. 'Cause that's always how it is.
Well, they said 14 other members. That may be the whole parish right there.
Yeah. Well, that could be it. And it was funny because I was looking at, remember we did a story a couple weeks ago about the snake handling show they're going to do on Discovery. Yeah. If you go and look at how big their churches are, 30 people. Right. These people mean nothing. This is just a bunch of redneck idiots who can't even get enough people together to make anything matter. They can't even put a fucking softball team together. Yeah. And we're supposed to take them seriously? I don't think so.
I mean, I don't take them seriously. I just thought it was funny that they're burning Bibles.
Yeah.
It's like...
I think it's funnier that they failed to burn Bibles.
Bibles. Oh, yes.
They're so incompetent they can't even manage to burn Bibles. Love these people. It just shows the complete stupidity of Christianity.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, so should we get down to our last bit?
Let's get down to our last bit.
Class, be quiet and pay attention. If I have to tell you one more time.
Now then, boy, we'll see how much you learn.
A long time ago, in episode 1 to be exact, we had a pretty decent discussion about what constitutes conservatism. But now that Mike's on the show, he suggested that we revisit the topic because he's been getting a lot of questions, and to be honest, I get quite a few myself. It seems that some people just don't understand the fundamental difference between conservatism and neoconservatism, So here we go again. We're going to explain it in simple terms that, well, even liberals can understand.
We hope.
We hope! So anyway, you said you've been getting a lot of questions, so, like what?
It was mostly, I won't give out names here, but there was a new blog out about WorldNet Daily, and the guy goes through and he does an analysis of the article and looks at the comments, and I thought he did a really good job on one of them. So I said, yeah, I really like how you handled this one. I mean, this is one of my favorites. You did a great job. And he asked me, well, I thought you were conservative. That you would like a WorldNet, picking on WorldNet Daily. I think he kind of chuckled and says, well, I guess wingnuts are wingnuts, and no matter what side they're on. And it actually kind of got me thinking, well, am I really a conservative? Because, if you watch the news, or you watch, you see the newscasters, you see these guys, you see the Tea Partiers, we want, small government, small whatever, libertarians, they're small, whatever, we don't want, all the tax, all that kind of stuff. First of all, am I really a conservative? Because, I'm all for women's rights, gay rights, civil rights, all the stuff that usually gets lumped as liberal, but I'm like, I kind of got to thinking, it's like, all I want is a government that works, that is fiscally conservative.
We don't have that now.
Right. I mean, I have no issue with social programs, food stamps, whatever, as long as the people that need the food stamps and who have contributed or is part of those that within the country, I want those people to get food stamps. So as long as you contributed in, you can take out. I mean, I think, fighting war out of the country, I'm kind of opposed to it. I mean, now that I've gone through some of the histories, I don't think that it's really been a good war other than maybe the Civil War and the Second World War, as far as the United States is concerned. All the other ones are kind of, more self-serving, more political, but, the Civil War, I think we had to fight to end slavery. And I think the Second World War, probably kind of like the same thing that Germany was doing.
Revolutionary War was probably important too, otherwise we wouldn't be around.
Well, I count that different because it was a rebellion, not a war. It was a revolution, not a war, because a revolution is we stood up and said, hey, England, screw you. We don't want to be pushed around anymore. So the Revolutionary War was important because then we wouldn't have been a country. But I'm thinking in terms of after we became a country. I mean, War of 1812, that was a disaster, and probably one of the stupidest things we've done. The Mexican War, again, I don't think the reasons for it was all that sound. The Spanish-American War was, I would say, is more of William Randolph Hearst's war. Basically, he created it. First World War would be, we could have stayed out of that one, but I think there was just a point where enough people got ticked off. Let's go. I think it was probably more of a disaster for us. Didn't really get actually the war wasn't so bad. It was the peace that was bad.
Yeah.
On that one. Then when I get to the Second World War, we were dealing with a serious problem with a Germany that what they did, the Holocaust was leave it at that. But then the wars afterwards, Korea, Vietnam, Grenada, Panama. I mean, all these wars are, again, they seem more political and economic than any type of ideological. And in those cases, I think we're going more against the grain of the change that was going to happen. Vietnam was going to go communist. Johnson, America's reluctance to allow communism to expand. We shove 500,000 men into that country for 10 years. And what happens? It goes communist. Just a total waste. Korea was probably kind of the same thing. Limited objectives. The country's still divided, and no sign of any type of reconciliation on that one. We know about the wars in Afghanistan, Iraq. We almost got mixed up in Syria over chemical weapons, Libya. Just trying to think of other ones. There's like Grenada. A bunch of college kids couldn't get it in a school in the States. They go to Grenada. to get an education. The Cubans kind of go in. There was no evidence that Cuba was going to do anything other than maybe build an airfield there. And we go in there to kick out Cubans. I don't see the value in that whole mess other than maybe to put a victory. That was like the first real conflict after Vietnam. I don't know if there was some pride thing or whatever, but it still doesn't make sense. That war never made sense to me, or that invasion.
Well, you're actually kind of jumping the gun here, so I'll respond to what you said, and then we'll, later on I'm going to talk about a couple of different topics that are kind of play into all this whole thing. But to be real honest, the whole military thing is where I really disagree with the Republicans. We've spent decades running around the world, swinging our dicks at anything that moves, and it's got to stop. There's no need to spend what we spend on national defense. There's no need for us to patrol the planet, pushing our brand of democracy on everyone whether they want it or not. We cause the majority of our own military problems. People are going to hate me for this, but I place the majority of the blame on 9/11 on us. We have no business forcing our way into the Middle East where we're not wanted, trying to push them to do things that they don't want to do just so we can secure cheap oil. If we would just stay the fuck out of the Middle East, they wouldn't hate us like they do. They don't hate us for our freedom. They hate us because we're dicks. And, guys, we spent a shitload on the military, and we need to stop. We spend more than the next 10 countries combined. Where's the limit? Why do we get to be the guys with the big guns and forcing everybody else not to have any guns and acting like we get to dictate policy for the planet? That's just stupid.
I mean, I'm just one of these that, believe in a country that we take care of our people. Taxes are taxes. I would rather see my taxes go to something constructive. I want to see it going to people that are going to end up sending it to Mexico. I don't see my tax dollars going to pay for stuff going on outside the country. Just, basically a very sane, cost-effective spending. I mean, I believe in science investments because our investment, when we were pumping money into, when we were going to the moon, if I remember right, for every dollar we put into that program, our economy got $137 out just in new technologies, new materials, things like that. I mean, that's a pretty damn good investment.
Right. Well, we don't invest anymore. That's the problem. We don't invest anymore. We just throw money at things.
Right.
Well, before we really get into a lot of that, I think it's really important that we just set down kind of a definition of what conservatism is. And I've changed my mind on this a lot over the last couple of months. But one thing we really need to talk about is labels. And it's really difficult to just present a label like conservative, like liberal, like whatever, and just assume that everybody who wears that label holds all the same views. It's not the case. It's just not the case. And we all know that. There are lots of people who've been on this show who come on and say, I'm a liberal, but they agree with lots of conservative views. So just because you wear a label or just because somebody else wears a label doesn't really tell you anything about what they really believe, especially on the micro level. But conservatism basically revolves around three principles. First, as you were talking about, fiscal responsibility. That means living within one's means, not spending more money than you have. It means you should have a financial buffer so that you're not devastated in time of trouble. And we know in this country we don't have that at all. There is no fiscal responsibility in the government at all. Everybody's borrowing from the Chinese. Everybody is spending money to buy votes. That's what they're doing. There's no fiscal responsibility, and that's why neither side is conservative. Secondly, you have personal responsibility, making good decisions, thinking ahead, not doing stupid shit. We need to have the expectation that everybody's going to make good decisions, and if they don't, they ought to pay the consequences of their actions. Liberals and neocons seem to think that people are going to be stupid, and therefore it's the job of the government to keep their innate stupidity from ever negatively impacting their lives. Conservatives don't buy into that. Conservatives think you are responsible for your actions, for your lives, and if you fuck up, you pay the consequences. You are personally responsible for your own shit. And third, keeping the government the hell out of the lives of the citizens. And, that speaks to a lot of different areas of life that we'll go into in more detail later. But it's very, very clear that neither major political party in this country wants to stop the government from sticking their nose in your shit. The Republicans want to stick their nose in your bedroom. The liberals, they want to stick your nose in what you say and what you do and what you think. Both of them need to go the fuck away and leave the people alone.
Like I said, I think we can have, some of these liberal ideals. So it's not really a liberal ideal. It's sensible. I mean, it's about as conservative as you get. Marriage rights, the civil rights, gay and lesbian rights.
And I'm all for those. I'm in favor of 100% equality across the board for everyone. That means you get identical rights no matter your gender, skin color, eye color, sexual orientation, religion, taste in music, whatever. That means that effective immediately, I treat every single person exactly the same. Liberals seem to think that previously downtrodden groups ought to get special treatment and special rights to make up for whatever they lost in the past, and I totally disagree. If our goal is 100% equality, then that goal has to start right this second, and we hold everyone accountable to that goal. If you're found to be discriminating against anyone, you're penalized and punished. It doesn't matter if it's whites against blacks or blacks against whites. It doesn't matter if it's straights against gays or gays against straights. It doesn't matter if it's atheists against theists or theists against atheists. Discrimination becomes 100% unacceptable, effective immediately. You cannot approach equality by pushing inequality. It just doesn't work that way. But I see this all the damn time. I had a recent discussion with somebody where I laid this out. I said, I can only do for myself. All right. I can only control what I personally do. And this is how I treat things. I treat everybody the same. And he says, well, yeah, but you just can't magically change that for everybody. So therefore we should treat all of the blacks in a certain different way to make up for the way that their ancestors were treated. And I'm going, dude, they're not slaves. They've never been slaves. Their parents weren't slaves. Their grandparents weren't slaves. For most of them, their great-great-great-grandparents probably weren't slaves either. It's been a long damn time since we've had slavery in this country. We don't have any institutional racism in this country. You're never going to be able to change people's individual views. There are always going to be some racists, and as long as they don't act on it, as long as they don't actively discriminate against somebody, what happens in their heads is up to them. There's not a damn thing you can or should do about it. All right? They will die out eventually, but you can't just mandate that people's minds magically change. So all you can really do is say, I'm going to treat everybody the same. I'm going to give equality to everyone. And in those cases where I find inequality, I'm going to work to help fix it. And it doesn't make a goddamn bit of difference who's involved in that inequality. It doesn't matter if it's a white guy discriminating against a black guy or a black guy discriminating against a white guy. The bad part is the discrimination, not the people involved. So sexism, racism, all this nonsense goes away because everybody should be dedicated only to rooting out and ridding our society of discrimination, not of particular kinds of discrimination.
Why do we fight these things? And it's not the conservatives, it's these neocons and paleocons who think, because it goes against religion. Religion has nothing to do with conservatism.
Right.
Religion is a totally separate entity unto itself. It has latched onto the conservative and the Republicans, but you can be a conservative Democrat, you can be a conservative Republican, I like to think of myself as Republican, but I don't like it so much because of that religious, misogynist, that other baggage that came along with, with the religious types. I mean, I think one of the biggest mistakes has been, or what a lot of people I don't think understand is, conservative is being conservative. I mean, you want sensible, honest, real, concrete program versus, untried, because I'm trying to think of a good example. What would be what we would call a liberal program? Because it always seems like those programs we don't know what we're going to get out of it. We might pump $1 million into such and such program, and maybe all it does is make a bunch of people happy, but it's just $1 million that went nowhere. But if that $1 million ended up giving us a return, that's kind of like my feelings on this.
Oh, I agree with you. And that's one of the things, a lot of people assume that conservatives will never accept anything new. They're always clinging to the past, and they're going to cling to tradition. And that's not really the case. Conservatives are not against change. They're against change for the sake of change. The reason why we value the past is because we have all these programs and we have all of these things that we know work. We have demonstrated that these work. So if you're going to tell us that we have to change to something else, or that we should change to something else, show us. Prove that it works. If you do, we'll embrace it. If you can't, then I'm going to stick with what I have that I already know is going to work fine until you come up with something better. That's the way it ought to work. Unfortunately, there's a lot of liberals out there who just think, well, hell, let's just change for the sake of change, because we don't want to stay still. We want to move forward. We want to quote unquote progress. Well, it's not progress if it doesn't actually make it better. So, unfortunately, we see this with a lot of liberal programs where it just makes things worse, but they had to jump on it because it was change.
I mean, I would like to have a right-sized government. I don't believe that we can have a small government or a big government. It has to be right-sized for what we need.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the libertarians, I think they want to get rid of government altogether, or put as little as possible that intrusion. I mean, again, what does it mean by government intrusion? Is it because they make me wear a seatbelt in my car? Is it because I want to fill in wetlands and I can't because of whatever environmental laws? I can't burn garbage in my backyard. Where's the intrusion? I mean, burning garbage, yeah, I may like doing that. I may like burning leaves in my backyard, but there's people I have to live around who has to breathe that smoke. And sometimes, you gotta say, well, we gotta eliminate this. I love burning leaves. I try to do it kind of responsibly, but, apparently there's others who don't know how to, because you can burn leaves and not make a lot of smoke, a lot of smell to it, but some people just, that was just a recent thing in our neighborhood or in our city. So we can't burn leaves anymore. We can burn wood. We can't burn leaves.
Well, honestly, I think a lot of that goes to the social contract, that you're living around other people. Therefore, you can't do things that are going to negatively impact them, and they can't do things that are negatively going to impact you. And you come to some kind of an accord where you are all accommodating each other's existence. And that's something that a lot of people don't seem to get. The social contract actually makes a lot of sense, but it's something that you get a lot of people who just don't comprehend that.
But is that government intrusion? Or shouldn't that have been just being nice to your neighbors? Yeah, I won't burn leaves because I know you have asthma. That type of.
All right. Well, anyway, I wanted to give kind of like a little background to why the Republican Party is so fucked up today. We have to remember that the modern day Republican Party is really controlled by disenfranchised, fundamentalist Southern Democrats who abandoned the Democratic Party over issues like abortion and civil rights, and were drawn into the Republican Party in the early 70s by Nixon's Southern strategy. He saw that he could actually steal a bunch of people from the Democratic Party and use them to enlarge the Republicans. By the early 80s, they had gained a significant foothold, So much so that Reagan, who really didn't buy into this whole nonsense, knew enough that he had to give them lip service to the growing demographic for their support. But since then, pretty much every presidential candidate, etc., has been a raving religious fundamentalist fucktard. These people are not conservatives. They're neoconservatives. That's why they call themselves that. In fact, why they ever use the word conservative is so they can trick the few actual conservatives who still hang out in the Republican Party into thinking that they actually represent their interests. They don't. These neocons are a hell of a lot closer to liberals than they are to conservatives. These are not people who are fiscally responsible at all. These are people who spend money like it's going out of style, exactly like the liberals do. These are people who are out to control what you think and what you say, just like the liberals are. They're just going at it from a different perspective. And that's the one thing people seem to misunderstand, is that they think that the Republican Party is remotely conservative. There is no conservative party in this country at all today. The Libertarians might be the closest to it, but they got some fucked up things going on too. There is nobody that represents conservatives in the U.S. at all today. It's just ridiculous that people think otherwise.
Yeah, definitely. Like I was going on about, and actually it was kind of funny because I was just going through the Kennedy stuff, some of the Kennedy stuff from my show, and how Kennedy kind of ticked off the Southern Democrats who were heavily ingrained with segregation and all that kind of stuff, and then with Nixon coming on board to being able to sway those people away. But yeah, I mean, definitely, to me, being conservative, I mean, trying to find who should I be supporting, trying to read, okay, what is this Republican? Because I'm trying to figure out who's who, what does he really stand for? I know definitely, see, the nice thing about where I live, we've got true conservatives in the Republican Party. Most of the people that run from within that township they're Republicans, they're more conservative type. You'll actually find that quite a bit in my area. But I notice they don't seem to get the news coverage as the crazier ones, that slavery is okay. And I want to say there hasn't been too many, we don't have too many nutballs in my neck of the woods, put it that way.
I got nothing but nutballs.
Yeah.
I have nobody to vote for in most elections. In fact, elections are all about voting against the greater evil than for voting for anyone. I can't remember the last time I voted for anybody I actually supported, because there's nobody running that I support. It's just sad.
Yeah. It always seems like when I hear the nut cases, they're coming out of the South, Tennessee, Missouri, Mississippi,
Texas.
Yeah, definitely. Kentucky. Yeah, that's it, Kentucky. Because Rand Paul, that guy, someone needs to slap him down or do something. I mean, I've been kind of lucky. I've had decent choices.
Yeah, well, you're lucky. We tend to have either the crazy left-wing people or the crazy right-wing people. I mean, our representative for a long, long time, he got caught spending public money to install a Catholic shrine to the Virgin Mary in his backyard and couldn't quite understand why he did anything wrong. I mean, that's the kind of mentality that we end up seeing.
When I look at them, I don't really look at, what their tag is, if they're Republican or Democrat. And I guess maybe the bigger problem is they don't want to tell you a lot. And that was the thing I noticed about the last election. They didn't want to tell you about plans. They didn't say anything what the plan was. They never do. They never do.
Yeah,
right. So you almost have Republican, conservative, liberal, Democrat, that type of thing. So if you vote the Democrat, you're going to get a liberal agenda. You vote Republican, you get a conservative track. And again,
no, you're not.
But I think that's the impression they try to give you. Okay, you're going to get a conservative if you vote for Republican. That's not true. I've seen Democrats in Illinois behave more conservative than the Republicans, liberal Democrat, conservative Republican. So it makes it sound like, I think when the wind blows, it's like, okay, are we looking to be conservative? Then we got to vote Republican, and if you if we can afford not to be liberal, we can vote Democrat, and then whoever within, the undecided, then you gotta try to convince them to choose sides. They seem to bandy around, the conservative as being anti-abortion, anti-feminine, all the the religious type, and that really bugs me.
Well, it doesn't matter what label you put on yourself. It's, who cares? You ask 10 Republicans what they believe and you'll get 10 different answers. The Republican label means nothing. The Democrat label means nothing. It doesn't actually tell you anything about what this person really believes in any kind of detail.
Right.
So I have been a lifelong member of the Republican Party, and I vote for whoever the hell I think is going to cause the least amount of damage. Doesn't make a damn bit of difference if they have an R or D next to their name. I'm voting against the worst evil.
Right. That's what it's come down to. I said it in a long way, but yeah, who's going to do the least damage and maybe do something smart for a change? Who has that potential? I don't know.
Yeah.
Flip a coin.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, most of the time, every single candidate running is a horrible, awful candidate who's going to do horrible things, and you don't want them anywhere close to office. But you got to elect somebody, because there is none of the above on the ballot. We really need one. I think we would change things if we had none of the above and it won all the time.
Definitely.
But
oh yeah, I think that's a damn good idea.
Well, anyway, we're rapidly getting towards the end of our show, and you've already kind of made your point on a few issues, and I wanted to be able to step in and do the same thing. So let me go ahead and do that. If we're going to start with, say abortion, because you brought up abortion earlier. Abortion is one area where I strongly disagree with the neocons because they're based their views on religion, and religion is a poor basis for any system of government. Now, I'm entirely fine with a woman's right to choose. However, there's some stipulations where liberals get upset with me. For example, I also think a man has a right to choose whether or not he's held financially captive for 18 years or not. If she can choose, so can he. Finally, I think there's got to be a lot more responsibility on both sides. The idea that sex is just something you do and any potential consequences that may arise are entirely irrelevant so long as it makes you feel good today is just absurd. If something unwanted comes up later, well, yeah, they can just whine about how unfair it is that biology works the way it does until someone comes and takes care of it for them. While I can't think of a way to adequately punish the stupid, I sure wish stupidity was painful. I wish people could just be more responsible. Abortion wouldn't be this giant issue if there wasn't a call for it. And if people were more responsible, if people were more careful who the hell they got into bed with, or were more careful about using birth control intelligently and rationally, if they were more intelligent about everything that they did, there wouldn't be that many unintended, unwanted pregnancies. And then you wouldn't have an issue, would ya?
Yeah.
And then we can get into things like welfare. Welfare is a huge bugaboo. It's, one of the many, 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 many social justice nonsensical issues the liberals throw around. I think welfare ought to be extremely short term. The expectation ought to be that everybody works and is self-sufficient. Certainly, there are some people who are neither mentally or physically capable of that, and that's a different case. But for most people, they have no excuse not to get a job. Welfare ought to be a temporary social safety net that catches you when you fall, puts you back on your feet, and shoves you back out into the working world. Welfare should be full of requirements. You should be required to get an education or job training while you're on welfare. You should be required not to breed under any circumstances. Your children should be required to bring home good grades. Welfare should suck. It should be hell. It should be something you'd be willing to do anything to stay off of or get off of as fast as you can. Welfare should be life support, not a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And of course, I just brought up education, so let's talk about that. I've said before, I think we ought to have a national educational standard that every school in the nation, public, private and home, are required by law to follow. The point of education is to produce hard-working, intelligent, competent members of society. Every single student that gets out of high school and can't read or do basic math, we fail as a people. I'm not saying we should produce identical automatons. I'm saying there are things that people need to know and understand in order to be productive citizens in the modern world. And it's our job as a society to provide that for them. I don't give a damn about your religion. I don't give a damn about your culture. I don't give a damn about your economic strata. The expectation needs to be the same for everyone. If you don't like it, jump on a boat for Jesus land and get the hell out of this country. And finally, the economy. Now, we've kind of talked about this with fiscal responsibility, but we need to stop borrowing money, effective immediately. We have to look at how much money we actually have to spend and then not spend more than that. We've spent so many decades now just giving away the farm to every special interest group that comes along. We're addicted to Chinese money, and that's got to stop. We need to stop raising the debt ceiling and start shrinking it. This is going to piss off a lot of people. But if everyone started living responsibly, there wouldn't be a problem. There wouldn't be a lot of people with their hands out to the government. But we spent 40 years liberalizing society, and this is the result. See, we need to stop this nonsense. We need to stop the financial hemorrhaging. We need to stop thinking that, hey, we're just going to give away money to everybody. We're just going to support everybody, buy votes, do all this bullshit. That's not the way any of this is supposed to work. We're supposed to be a model of efficiency and self-sufficiency, and we've lost that in America. That's not what we do anymore. You know, we've turned into a bunch of whiny little bitches in a nanny state that tries to tell you what you can and can't do. And it's any wonder that we're just so fucked up.
Yeah.
That's really where the Republican-Democrat thing has gone recently, is it's not about compromise. It's not about what's best for the country. It's what's best for your ideology and how best to fuck with the other guy. That's our government today.
Unfortunately, that's too true.
It's sad, but it is what it is, I guess. All right. Well, anyway, you think we should close up shop for the week?
Yeah, why not? I'm having fun. It's been great.
All right. Done rubbing your lucky rabbit's foot yet? If you're still doing that after this show, there's no hope for you. Maybe you ought to come back in another week for another dose of conservative atheist medicine guaranteed to cure irrationality from the open-minded. Don't forget, we're on Facebook, Google+, Stitcher Radio, Twitter, and our very own website. Stick around for the next show coming up in 7 short days. See you then. You've been listening to the Bitchspot Report Podcast with your hosts, Cephas and Mike. You can follow us on Twitter respectively at Bitchspot1 or at JDRipper1962. Please visit our website at report.jdragononline.com. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/The Bitchspot Report. We're also on Google+, iTunes, and YouTube. Those links are at our website. We'd love to hear from you. You can reach us via email at report@jdragononline.com. Comments, ideas, and suggestions are always welcome. We'll be back next week with another fun and fact-filled episode. Please tune in again.